Okay, so I thought I'd make a little quick video. So I was just on a coaching call with my client who is just getting started. And one of the things that we work on when you first get started is finding a couple of people who might be your people or your support. And these are just people who are willing to love you through it all, who I always suggest to people who don't try to control you or think you need to be a certain way. Sometimes your parents can be this and sometimes they can't. Only you really know that. And here's the reason why. When you get to like our age, so for me, for those of you that don't know, I found out at 49 that a lot of my issues and struggles through life were due to undiagnosed ADHD and autism. But here's where it gets tricky. For those of us that are older, we also have quite a bit of trauma. So, I mean, everybody has different levels of trauma, but when you have undiagnosed ADHD, you also have something develop in you that's called ADHD trauma, or I like to call it the spectrum trauma, which is living unknowingly with something that makes you different from others, and others often to see you differently because of it. This does cause a trauma, a deep-rooted trauma, often in negative character beliefs or negative beliefs about ourselves. So that's one thing that you're dealing with. You're also dealing with the fact that you have ADHD or autism and all the things that come with that. So that's what gets complicated. So to give you an example, when I first started to go to therapy, I was going for trauma, not for anything else. I just believed that most of my issues were due to unresolved trauma. And I'm not wrong. But in that, we also discovered that some of the things that I thought were character flaws, like my emotional dysregulation, my inability sometimes to almost stop anger and fighting and all that, and realizing that's dopamine seeking. All of that stuff, it was such a beautiful day for me to be able to put a label on it. And I know some people don't like labels. I was like, bring on the labels. I lived my whole life not knowing these things and wondering if I was broken. And to find out that there's a label for it, that there's people built like me, that there's other people with the same struggles, that was so freeing. But then the other thing that starts to happen is you start to think everything's ADHD then. So all your troubles are ADHD or autism. And that's just simply not the case. And we get so excited that we have a name and a label and a new understanding that it gets confusing again when all of a sudden it's not working, or the knowledge of your disability isn't stopping some things, and that's where your trauma comes in. So I will do a post shortly, maybe even today. I'm at work super early today, about some of the things that present as ADHD and as trauma. So my newest thing when I'm working with anyone over the age of like 40, and we're talking about, big reactions, some of that stuff. My question, and they come to me and say, I think I have ADHD. And I'll say, okay, why do you think that? And then my next question is it ADHD or is it trauma? And I think we all need to start there, because if you have complex PTSD, some of your symptoms will present as ADHD. And that's just to make it beautiful. And then if you're like me and you're doubly blessed with ADHD, autism, and then on top of that complex PTSD, well, all of your symptoms and stuff can be ingrained, and it can be hard sometimes to sort them out. And why do you want to sort them out? Because by sorting them out is kind of how you learn how to deal with them. So I just wanted to remind people out there that this is not simple by any means. If you're someone who's sitting on the fence saying, I think I might have ADHD, but you kind of think, not sure, have you gone to therapy and have you done the work? That's where I'd start, because it can present anxiety. All that stuff can also be by trauma. So you can imagine why these neurodivergent children are so anxious, because they are trying to handle all of this stuff in their little brains and bodies. And some of us grown-ass women and men can't handle it. So let's give them a little applause, okay? So just remind yourself that sometimes it's ADHD and sometimes it's trauma. You got to heal both. Start with unmasking, and it's worth it, people. It's worth it.